Hi, Michael Neese, author of Interview Mastery, the world's most widely used job interview prep software for the job seeker, used in 73 countries, used by college career centers all across the country, even across the world, and used by the U.S. Navy. None of that actually really matters unless I give you some value right now that'll help you get your job offer that you've been seeking on your next interview. And that's what people have told me by using this material. So there's a lot of wisdom out there on the internet that says, oh, do this and do that. And it's a bunch of bull. And it's a bunch of opinions. So unless someone's got some tangible evidence to prove that their program works, great. There's some good ones out there. They're not necessarily easy to find, but they're out there. In this video, we're going to cover one of the other most feared job interview questions, which is the salary question. How the heck do you handle this? And then we're going to go over the different types of interviews that you can expect to encounter. First, on the salary question, you are going to get asked this. Sometimes you're going to get asked this on a phone screen or face-to-face, but you're going to get this asked at least once, if not twice. And it's usually the internal recruiter or the HR person that usually asks first. Or if you're going through an external recruiter, the external recruiter will ask you. But here is your three-step process. Oh, first intention is you want to delay discussing a specific number until you have negotiating leverage. And I know some of you are saying, oh, Mike, it's not like that anymore. Oh, my God, oh, my God. Just bear with me, take a few minutes and listen to this video. It'll give you some ideas of how to handle this situation. So there's a three-step response strategy when they ask you, hey, what's your salary requirements, or what is your salary right now? So the first thing you say is, like, I'd rather not give you a specific number right now. Second thing you do is you communicate your interest in this opportunity. And third, you say, all I'd like you to do is make me the best offer that you feel comfortable with. Yeah, they're going to do that anyway. So let's see how this goes. So they ask you, hey, Mike, what are you looking for in terms of salary? You say, well, I'd rather not give you a specific number at this point. I want to express my high interest in this opportunity and your company and the team. And all I'd like you to do is just make me the best offer you are most comfortable with when we get to that point where we have mutual interest. They say, oh, come on. It's all right. So you're sitting there going, yeah, Mike, I heard this crap before. This isn't going to fly. They're not going to. Well, sometimes it works. So this is your first line of response. The second thing I want so let's say, so we're going to hammer me on this question to give you some ideas of how to handle this. So let's say they come back and they say, oh, come on, give me a number. You say, listen, I'm happy to give you a number when we get to the point where we have mutual interest, where you're interested in me and I can already tell you I'm interested in that. So can I just delay this until we get through the first round of interviews? They probably, let's say, they ain't going to buy that either. Say, oh, come on, Michael, give me a number. Say, I'm happy to give you. So I know that here's this strategy is you ask for the salary range. You simply say to them, listen, I know you need to make sure that if we get to the end that my salary expectations and requirements are aligned with your salary range. I have no idea what your salary range is, so why don't you just tell me what the range is? Over 90% of the time, that one works. When you ask them what the salary range is and you express an appreciation for the fact that they have to make sure that there's some kind of match. There's multiple salary ranges at work here. There is the salary range that you had, there's the salary range in the industry, and there's the salary range specific to this company. And they rarely, if ever, line up. So you say, I'm happy to discuss salary. Can you tell me what the range is? They almost always respond to that one. If they say, oh, for Pete's sake, Michael, would you give me a number? Like I said, I'd rather not give you a number because that's really the least important thing to me. There's several factors that are important to me when I select the job. It might be the quality of the opportunity, the quality of the team, the company, location, growth opportunity, and the sixth factor is compensation. I can tell you that, a lot of these factors that are most important to me are already in place. So I'd rather not have salary get in the way. The point here is that the first person to give a number is kind of setting the bar. And by asking the salary range, that's actually probably going to be the most comfortable for you. So I'd encourage you to do that one. Now, there's a couple other resources that are out there that can be very helpful, and it's one called onetcenter.org. You can see it right here on the screen. And you can research industries and positions and requirements, and they used to have some salary information. There's another one called careeronestop.org, and hopefully they used to have some very good information about salaries there. You can also go to a site called salary.com, and what you're doing there is you're really researching the salary range for your position in a specific geography. So that's kind of you're going to get a range, but you still don't know what the range is for the company. So when they ask you, hey Mike, give me a number. What are you looking for? You say, well, I know the salary range generally for this industry. For this position in this city, but I don't know what your salary range is. Why don't you just tell me what your range is, and I'll let you know how I fall in your range, and we will have accomplished what you need to, so that when we get to the end, you'll know that my compensation range is aligned with the range that you'd like to pay. So I've given you a lot of ideas very quickly. What I'd like you to do is just formulate how you're going to, I want you to write down exactly how you're going to respond, because you're going to get this one. It's going to be on a phone screen, or it's going to be face-to-face. And there's the other situation that you're going to handle is you're going to have to fill out some salary, what your previous salary range was. If you're filling out, you're submitting your application and your resume and your cover letter to, an applicant tracking system on the web, very impersonal. And we'll cover that one in a separate video. And, all those things make me so mad because what we tried to do as recruiters is we tried to make our jobs easier, but what we did is we used technology to prevent us, to put a barrier between us and the candidates. It's our job to be human resources professionals, and if you're a recruiter out there, I'm sorry, but if you are the type that use technology to insulate yourselves from the talent you're trying to recruit, you cannot you cannot call yourself a talent acquisition. You really have to. You got to know talent. You can't put technology in between you. Sorry, I went on a little rant there. But buzzwords do not recognize talent. And as candidates, we understand this. We have lived on both sides of this fence, both the interviewer and the interviewee, hiring manager or potential applicant. So we understand how difficult it is, even when you are extremely talented, to get recognized. Now, a few words about the types of interviews that you're going to encounter. The typical one is, the first one you're going to encounter is the phone screen. And so on the phone screen, what is helpful is to consider it a real interview. And if you get an unexpected call, you want to make sure that you're in a setting that you can insulate yourself from a lot of distractions or background noise. I know you're very happy to get the call, but the best thing you can do is schedule it in a time where you can make some preparations and insulate yourself from a lot of background noise. Realize that the only information they have from you on a phone screen is the noise that's coming through the phone. They don't get the chance to see you, unless, of course, they're doing it on a video chat or a video Skype, but that's usually considered a first-round face-to-face. But on a phone screen, they only have the noise coming through the phone. So you want to make sure that you have done as good a job as you can to insulate yourself from a lot of background noise. The other thing you want to do with phone screens is you want to prepare yourself a list of questions that you will ask at the end of that phone screen. So these will be business-focused questions. The other thing I want you to do is make yourself a little guide that says, okay, here's the question that I want to ask in the opening. You ask them, things like, what are the key skills required to be successful in this position? Or you might ask them, how much time do we have? You might also ask them, so what are the key things you need to learn from me to make your decision on whether or not to go forward and invite me in for a face-to-face? So those are the things you can ask in the beginning. Also on your little guide is write down the questions you want to ask at the end when they are getting to the end of the interview, and you want to ask things like, what do you think my strengths are for this position? Do you have any concerns? So you're writing down all of these little notes, and the beautiful part is you're sitting at home, and hopefully you're not sitting in a loud coffee shop, because oh my God, those things are so loud. So you're sitting at home, and you can look at these notes, and they don't know you're looking at these notes. The other things you can write down is those areas of your experience or your talents that you think are going to be very valuable for this position. You can have the job description in front of you. You can highlight those areas of the job description, the kind of the core competencies that they're looking for you, so you can stay on target. Most traditional and the most frequently encountered is that one-on-one interview. So that's discussed extensively in the Interview Mastery Program. The things you want to do is when you're on the phone, you want to consider it as a real live interview, and when you're face-to-face, you're going to do everything else the same. You're going to have an opening question, you're going to facilitate a two-way dialogue, you're going to ask questions at the end, you're going to be equipped to handle the salary question and the question about weaknesses. You also may handle a different type of interview, which is called a panel interview, where you have multiple interviewers at the same time. This can be a little unnerving. However, it actually, for the most part, is to your advantage. You're like, oh great, like how the heck is this to my advantage? The reason this is to your advantage is each one of the interviewers, let's say you got 3, they all are hearing exactly the same inputs from you. When you compare this with one-on-one interviews, if each one of those interviewers was in a separate room, one-on-one, they're only getting their specific information from you on which they're going to make a decision whether to go forward with your candidacy or not and hire you. So they all have different information. So there's no way for them to resolve a disagreement about your background, where one person might feel great about you, one feels not so good about you, and one is kind of on the fence. When they're all in the room at the same time, they all get exactly the same information. So why this is important is it's much more likely that they're going to have an accurate understanding of your background because they all got exactly the same input. You don't see this part, but in the interview wrap-up at the end, when they're exchanging perceptions about you, one interviewer might say, well, I feel great about him or her because, and another person might have a different opinion, but they're basing it on exactly the same information that they got from you. So they kind of have to chat it out and resolve that disagreement. One person, they both heard the same thing, and one person feels strongly about you, one, is not so strong. They're like, how can we have a different opinion here? Well, they both are filtering your information that you've shared with them through their own lens, their own biases. So when you have a panel interview, it is to your advantage. Another type of interview style is called a behavioral event interview, and this is where they're asking you questions. This might happen one-on-one or it might happen in a panel interview, but a behavioral event interview is where the point here is they're trying to hear from you. They're asking you questions to elicit specific examples where you've demonstrated certain behaviors. Behaviors that are things like, ability to multitask, results focused, you might be very analytical, you might be goal-driven, communications, good oral and written communication skills, things like that. Those are typically behaviors that are separate from, they could apply to almost any discipline, but the strict definition of a behavioral event interview is they're asking you questions where you've demonstrated a specific behavior, and in your response, you're basically telling them a structured story of what was going on before you handled that situation. You're describing what the situation was. Then you describe what behaviors or what actions you took. And then the third thing you do is describe the results that you got or what happened after you took some actions. So there's a couple of different sequences here. So you can, frameworks in responding to a behavioral event interview question. This is discussed, there's a specific module in Interview Mastery about this, but the framework is before, during, and after. Like, what was going on before I took some action and demonstrated that behavior? What did I do when I was taking action, and what happened after? Now, there's also other frameworks out there. Maybe you have encountered them. One is called, anyway, so it might be, what was the situation, what was the action I took, and what were the results? That framework can help you tell your structured story when you're asked these behavioral event interview questions. Now, there's other types of interview situations. There was the stress interview situation which has fallen out of favor, thank God. Then there's other types of interview questions I call stupid interview questions, where they ask you, how many feet, how many square footage is there in the Empire State Building, or how many airplanes are flying over the United States now? How many gas stations are there in, France now? And one of the most absurd that my wife actually got was, if you were a Muppet, what kind of Muppet would you be? I don't know why interviewers ask these things, because they're so damn desperate to try and figure out who you really are, and they think they're imparted with some special wisdom by asking these questions, and they have some elaborate justifications for asking these stupid questions. But anyway, so that's just a brief highlight of some of the different types of interview questions you can handle. So hopefully this video has been valuable, and I look forward to sharing some more information with you. Go get it, because you're going to rock out the next interview. You are going to get the offer, because you're awesome, and it'd be crazy not to hire you.